Alright guys, I am back with another video. I was on the Facebook page, and I know it's been a long time since I've done a video, so I'm trying to think like what's the best thing to do, but it's like right now I have the time and I don't really have any wrestling available except for SmackDown, so I thought maybe I would talk a little bit about wrestling and then maybe review tonight's SmackDown. Not really looking forward to that. But yeah, I've just been really busy this semester. I took more classes than I have before, so I was even just more busy this semester than I've ever been, and it was difficult. I took some really tough classes. I have two majors I'm working towards right now, psychology and philosophy, and it's just a lot of paper writing, experiments, presentations, just everything. It was difficult, but I made straight A's, so I'm very happy about that. But yeah, that's definitely my priority, so sometimes videos have to take a back seat to that. But anyway, on to some wrestling talk. So I don't really watch this show anymore. When I'm doing homework or something on a Monday night or a Tuesday, or whenever I'm doing homework or writing a paper and I stop and I just try to organize my thoughts, I'll play Raw or something in the background. Sometimes I'll just fast forward through the entire show. Sometimes I just delete it completely. I'm not 100% sure about what's going on in the company right now. I think there's a pay-per-view Sunday. I don't even know who's in it. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. But I feel like there's still a lot of stuff you can talk about with wrestling. And because WWE wants to go in this new direction, I read on, like, the reality era, I read online that the network, their top shows are like this Jerry Springer show. Too hot for TV. That reminds me of like those VHS tapes back in the late 90s with Jerry Springer that would show the nudity they blurred on TV. And I remember, like, me and my friends in high school thought that was like, oh, you know. So that's the only thing I thought of was Too Hot for TV, those like dirty Jerry Springer VHS tapes. I have no idea what this show's about or what it could possibly be about on this PG network. But they said no one really watches the old matches. I did. I watched the old matches. I got the network for the Royal Rumble. And man, did I get screwed on that. That was so long ago. Let me see if I can remember what happened. I got the network because I was like, you know what? If I'm going to watch the Royal Rumble, I can pay $10. I can pay $10 for this pay-per-view. I'm not going to try and stream it or pirate it or something. I can do that. And I'll just try out the network, whatever. I remember when I had it before, I watched a lot of 96 WWE stuff, and I really like that. So I can always go back and watch some more of that when I'm done with the Rumble. But as soon as I bought the thing, they announced that they're giving away the whole month of February, I think, for free. So I got completely screwed because I bought it the day of the pay-per-view, which was like the end of January. So I really got screwed on that deal. Also, the show sucked. It was terrible. Everybody just crapped on Roman Reigns, and he just stood there at the end with The Rock, and he had that dopey look on his face. It was just no good. But, oh yeah, I also can't watch it on my computer. I have no idea how you watch the network in your computer, but it will not play. I tried everything. It will not work. I had to watch the Royal Rumble on my iPhone, this big. I had to watch a pay-per-view. So I was disappointed with that. I have not got it since. I spent the rest of my month watching WCW, and that really enlightened me to a lot of things. First of all, I love WCW. I didn't watch any WWE, WWF stuff from that time period, but 96 through 98 WCW is awesome. Don't let anybody tell you different. Man, that was good. Like, I've thought about getting the network again just for WCW. But then I hear stuff like no one else is doing it, and I'm kind of thinking, they're probably not going to add as much old content as they were, and you never know. I mean, I hope they continue. I would love to see all the Nitros and Thunders on there one day so I can kind of watch everything in chronological order. But yeah, those old WCW shows were great. But as I was saying, they enlightened me to something. And that is what I think's changed about wrestling the most. What I think they've completely killed off is the mystique, the mystery of pro wrestling. What made it exciting? Sure, you know it's scripted and stuff, but there was always those times where you were just like, I don't know if that was scripted. But nowadays, you know it's all scripted. It's like those Raw scripts were leaked, and every single thing is detailed. Like, they tell these guys everything to do, every word, all of that crap. Which is another reason CM Punk really deserves no credit for having his shoot pipe bomb. I mean, big deal. You went out there and did something they told you to do. Come on. But yeah, the whole thing about wrestling back then was that you didn't really know, especially as a kid in that era. You saw these guys, and they were huge. These were monster guys. Like, they could handle themselves. Did you really think... I was watching Harlem Heat versus Buff Bagwell and Scott Norton. And watching Scott Norton out there, I think it was Hog Wild too. I'm really not sure why I was watching that one. But watching Scott Norton, I was just thinking to myself, man, this is a beast. This is a man beast. And I don't think Roman Reigns could take Scott Norton. Or Vader. Or any of those guys. I mean, those guys would beat the crap out of somebody. I mean, straight up. So, I think that's another thing that's changed is like these guys who trained back in the old days of wrestling, maybe there was something a little off about them. But they were rough and tough guys who would just beat the crap out of dudes. And that's something that's been lost. Like, you had those old guys who could handle themselves. They were monsters. They cut their own promos, good or bad. They cut their own promos. They went out there. They had crazy matches, experience touring all over the world. And these guys were just awesome workers. And they were the business. And now it's like those guys have slowly, one by one, faded away. And that experience from those guys, that just character of those guys, the personal character of those guys, that's something you can't teach. And I don't know if it was maybe because wrestling got so popular in the late 90s that people who normally wouldn't want to be wrestlers decided they wanted to be wrestlers, and that's what changed. I really have no idea. I know WWE and they're wanting to script absolutely everything is definitely a huge problem. But it's like those guys from back then, the Terry Funks and all those guys, man, they were something special. You were watching it and you didn't feel like you were watching some Fandango character. You felt like you were watching a legit guy go out there and beat up another legit guy. And that was just great. That was something you've completely lost today and you'll never get back. So it's really disappointing. But like Brock Lesnar, that's a guy who is an example of those crazy, tough, monster guys. And he's pretty much the best thing they have. I mean, whenever I read about Brock Lesnar, people love everything he's doing. I loved everything he was doing. He was unpredictable. And now everything is predictable. So there's another couple of problems with WWE specifically I wanted to bring up here. One of those problems is nothing matters. You could have a guy on this show get tombstoned on top of stairs, chokeslammed on top of a car, and he will be on SmackDown that same week. And it's difficult to get emotionally invested in a character when there are no real consequences. So here's an analogy. I don't know how many of you have ever played the X-Men arcade game. I know it was released again for Xbox 360, I think. It's like a 4-player X-Men game. You could play as Nightcrawler, Colossus, all these characters. I spent so much money on this game as a kid and could never beat it. It was just my favorite game in the arcade. I remember the most I ever spent was like $5 one time. I was just very young. I love this game so much. But if you've played the game, there's a consequence when you use your special move. You can attack or you can use the X-Men power. And that power will drain your health. So when you're playing and you're spending real money, you never want to use that special move unless it's dire straits, you know what I mean? Well, when it was released on Xbox 360, you have unlimited continues. You're not spending real quarters in that machine. So all me and my friends did was spam the special move until we died, and then get up and spam it again. It meant nothing, and the game was so boring. It ruined one of my favorite games from my childhood. So there's got to be consequences in wrestling. You can't just have everything be completely meaningless. Victories have to matter again. Injuries have to matter. You have to try to at least make this a believable product. So besides the stuff like wrestling as a whole, changing, just the wrestlers themselves have changed. I mean, do you really think Roman Reigns could beat up Scott Norton? But besides that type of stuff, and WWE just making everything completely meaningless, which still doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, it's win-win. You get to take the guy off of TV and let him rest up, and then bring him back, and he'll get a bigger reaction. You know, the whole less is more thing. I don't know. They just don't get it, I guess. But besides that, what I hate about WWE is everything has to be so corporate and sleek and smooth and predictable now. Like back in the old days, you would have guys go out there and they would cut promos just as themselves, pretty much. They weren't told every single thing to say. It felt more real. Maybe I'd say a little bit grittier, something like that. But yeah, it's just not like that today. Every single thing has to be scripted, and it really just stifles the creativity of the show. On one hand, back when wrestling was more unpredictable, some bad things did happen. You had that time when Saturn just beat the crap out of this poor jobber guy just because he pissed him off. I remember Yokozuna just bonsai dropping this jobber and crushing the life out of this guy. Like typically when he hits the bonsai drop, he lands on his feet. This time, boom, like almost a split, just all his weight on this poor dude. Vader broke a guy's back. It was just crazy. It was more like an outlaw time. And while I think that should have definitely gone away, and I'm glad it has for the most part, I think the predictable nature of wrestling nowadays, especially in WWE, has just really hurt any creativity. How can you go out there and expect to do anything artistic with your character when you're being told every single thing to do, and being told what your character is and who you are and this is how you feel? Like, that would drive any sane person nuts, wouldn't it? So I feel like that has really hurt the product, probably more than anything else, I would say. But yeah, that actually brings me to a pretty deep question. Wrestling is safer now, for sure. I mean, mostly due to medical advances and things like that. But ask yourself this, deep down inside, do you really want it to be safer? I mean, do you want it to be safer, or do you want to see Mick Foley flying off the top of Hell in a Cell? Just throwing that out there. But yeah, it's like the control WWE wants over the people now, over their fans, it's pretty weird. It's like they want everything to go according to plan. They don't want to deviate from the script. They just want to back their guys and get their agenda across with their guys. And it's almost like the fans are the problem. Like, we're the problem. We're not like the fans the company loves, who, you know, support them. We're the problem. Like, they take signs, they take t-shirts, they They hide cheers when guys they don't want getting cheered get cheered. They hide boos from guys they don't want getting booed. It's actually pretty disturbing when you think about it. It's just really weird. And it makes for not only stifling the creativity of the guys, but this whole like control, we have to control everything involved with the product, also makes it really frustrating to watch the show every week. Like, why would anybody watch this? Why would anybody put themselves through this for a company that doesn't even like you? I mean, it's crazy. It's like they don't want wrestling fans watching their show. WWE's been trying to do this for years now. They want to branch off into movies. Let's stop calling it wrestling. It's sports entertainment. Like, they've been trying really hard to just basically say, look, we don't like you. I mean, that's how it feels. And, I mean, the best word I can use to sum them up is ungrateful. Just an ungrateful company. It's like they've used wrestling fans to get where they are, and now they no longer want them around. And are actively trying to drive them off. Now they want to focus on Jerry Springer's Too Hot for TV. That's where we're going in the future. It's silly. The whole thing is silly. And I know I'm coming across as just like anti-WWE guy right now. But I'm not saying anything that isn't true. I'm not saying anything that I'm trying to condemn the company and make them look worse than they are. I'm not coming up with things. These are all things that have happened. WWE is known to do these things. They do change the sound when guys they don't want getting cheered get cheered. It's ridiculous. I mean, everybody knows they take signs and t-shirts and stuff like that. I know that sometimes it's justified. Like, if you go there wearing a shirt from a different company, it's within that company's right to tell you to change, I guess. I mean, I can kind of understand that. It's a dick move, let's be real about it, but I can kind of understand that. But when you're taking signs that are just saying Roman Reigns sucks, you're trying to control the crowd's reactions, their emotions. You're trying to change the way he is perceived to people. And that's ridiculous. And that's not what pro wrestling is about. Back in the old days, the fans did have a say and it mattered. And now WWE just wants to take that away and control every single aspect of what you want to see. And that is disturbing. So, I know this video, it's going to be so long because I keep finding things to add to this. But I was thinking, WWE, they want everything scripted down to like the smallest detail, right? You would think that would actually happen back in the older days of wrestling to prevent the business from being exposed. You would think that they would want those guys to have scripted promos, to have everything in the match planned out so that nothing went wrong, so that everything looked perfect. You would think that's the way they wanted it. Because back then, there were some people who still thought it was real, and even those who weren't like sure it was fake thought it could be real. You know what I mean? Like, there were still people who were on the fence about it. Like, well, maybe not all of it's fake. In fact, I remember something I heard Lance Storm say on Figure 4 Daily a long time ago. He said something about how a guy asked him if it was fake back when he was wrestling, and he said that it's not fake. But he said, like, why do you guys stomp your feet when you're throwing punches if it's real? And Lance Storm said, well, we know we're putting on a show. So while we're really hurting each other out there, we stomp our feet sometimes to, make it more vibrant, to make it more of a show. And I was like, man, that's a good answer. So you had people trying to protect the business, right? So you would think back then that's when they want everything scripted. But today, everybody in the world knows it's fake. But they want everything scripted down to the smallest detail. But what blew me away is WWE just coming right out and saying it's fake. With Daniel Bryan basically uttering those words at the Hall of Fame this year. So I did watch the Hall of Fame. And Daniel Bryan came out. It was for the kid who had cancer, and he said, "What I do is fiction. It's not real. And even today, in 2015, actually hearing someone say that on WWE programming, I was like, wow. Like, what are we doing? I understand he was out there, he was trying to make a point for that kid, for the Hall of Fame. I get that. But he could have said anything else. He could have phrased those words in any way, but to just say, it's fake. It's fake. It's fake is basically what he did. And that just really surprised me. Like, I could not believe that. As a wrestling fan for all these years of my life, I never would have imagined them doing something like that, ever. Like, I could never imagine WWE doing that, or any wrestling company. I know they're in the reality era, whatever that means. I still don't know. But yeah, it's basically like, everything's fake, haha, we know. Just give us your money. I have nothing else really to say about this. I thought it was interesting, and maybe I'm the only one. Maybe I'm the only one who thought that was weird that Daniel Bryan said that. But I definitely wanted to include that in this video, because that's one of the things from this year that really stuck out to me, was when he said, "It's fiction. It's not real." Just as a long-time wrestling fan, that really blew me away. So, on to NXT. NXT, man. NXT. Everybody's like, oh, you should watch that. That's awesome. It has all these great wrestlers. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, all these guys. I do not watch NXT. I don't have the WWE network. I'm sure it's great, because I've watched a lot of these guys in the indies for years anyway. I know how good they are. But I hear they put on a great show in NXT. However, I still, and I said this before previously, I would not get my hopes up about these guys coming to WWE, and I wouldn't even say being as good as they are in NXT. I mean, this company, it has the magical ability to suck the absolute life out of anyone. Yeah, these guys in NXT, they're in an environment that they're familiar with. It's more of an indie-ish environment. And WWE just wants to strip them of all that, change them, and then make them really lame. Case in point, the Ascension. Now, I don't know if the Ascension was cool in NXT. I can't imagine that they were. But from what I hear, they were much better than they are in WWE. So, I'm wondering why people are so excited about NXT when pretty much everyone who's come from there has been a flop. I was wondering, like, is one of these guys going to take? So now you have Seth Rollins. He's doing pretty good. But look at all the flops. The Ascension, Adam Rose, Bo Dallas, all these guys they bring up, and then they just flounder. They end up doing nothing. And then you eventually wait for their shoot interview on kayfabe commentaries. That's the run. That's the career, it seems like. So yeah, I would not get excited about this. Now, Sami Zayn, he's like top tier NXT guys. Everyone loves Sami Zayn. He comes to WWE and he gets injured before his first match. Not in the match, on his way to the ring. I saw the footage. He's like trying to get the crowd hyped up, and he hurts his shoulder. Now, Sami Zayn is a great worker. This is not because he's a bad worker. The guy is phenomenal. However, what does this nutball company think of this? Because I can easily see them back there saying, oh no, we got another Daniel Bryan on our hands. And that's a really bad sign for Sami Zayn, because the guy already had so much opposition to overcome because of the way he looks. And, I mean, he's already trying to fight against that. Now he has this. I mean, it's really bad. It's a bad sign for Sami Zayn, just because we know how this company thinks. If it was a rational company, of course this wouldn't be an issue. But we're not talking about a rational company here. We know who we're talking about, and they're completely out of their minds. And they hate you, if I didn't make that clear. I know that's how I came across, but I kind of feel like they do hate you. I mean, so anyways, yeah, NXT, I still wouldn't get excited. I see a lot of guys coming out of there who will be strong mid-card guys, but I don't see any like main eventers. I never would see Sami Zayn, even if he didn't get injured, as a main event guy. I don't think WWE does either. I would like to see him as that, but I could never see him beating a Randy Orton or a John Cena. I really can't see anybody in NXT at the moment beating any of those guys, no matter how much they try to push him. WWE has its established guys. Their Cenas, their Ortons, now their Reigns, and these guys have a lot of opposition trying to make their way in this company. Alright, so I thought I should talk a little bit about TNA and Ring of Honor in this video. With Ring of Honor, whenever I watch the TV show, I love it. I think it's great. I think a lot of people who are down on Ring of Honor don't actually watch Ring of Honor. Just trying to be an objective wrestling fan, when I do watch the show, it's good. I mean, you have guys like the Young Bucks on there. You have a lot of good up-and-coming talent. The House of Truth is so awesome. You just have to see these guys. They got this new huge guy in there with them. I can't even remember his name, but he hits like a variation of the go to sleep. Just, they bring in guys like the Japanese guys, AJ, Alberto Del Rio, Samoa Joe. So you have a lot of these talented guys coming to Ring of Honor and wrestling weekly. And it's a 1 hour show. You just get good wrestling for 1 hour and that's it. It's not as much work as freaking trying to be a WWE fan. So I really have enjoyed the Ring of Honor product, and these Japanese shows they got coming up, the Global Wars and all that stuff. This is getting a ton of hype, so I will be watching those shows. I'm looking forward to those. But they just have some of the best wrestlers, man. Roderick Strong and the Briscoes, and these guys are just good wrestlers. I don't see why anybody would crap on Ring of Honor. Like, I honestly can't come up with anything bad to say about them. That's within their control. And the presentation has increased. Like, now they have their own Titantron type deal going on. It's just all good. So, on to TNA. Billy Corgan was named the head of creative or something like that for TNA. So I guess he's going to be the one in charge of storylines and things like that. And I know a lot of people are thinking this is going to be good. This is what's going to turn TNA around. Okay, let me start by saying I like Billy Corgan. Smashing Pumpkins is actually one of my favorite bands of all time, and I think it's awesome how hardcore of a wrestling fan Billy Corgan is. I always thought that was a really cool fact about him. But what's he going to do in TNA? Book better storylines for Crazy Steve and Mike Knox? I mean, seriously, like, everybody's jumped ship that was worth a crap in TNA. And honestly, I think the only reason they still have guys like the Wolves, or I don't even know if they still do, but I think the reason they still have some of those guys is because they were under contracts. But when those contracts are up, they're going to leave too. And I don't see TNA being able to bring in a lot of young up-and-coming guys because it's TNA. I mean, are they really going to want to take that risk to not have all these indie dates they got set up? Like the Young Bucks, I mean, they work all over the world. They don't need TNA. Why would you go to TNA, especially now that it's on this no-name channel that no one has? So I guess at the end of the day, TNA with Billy Corgan is better than TNA without Billy Corgan. But seriously, even if Billy Corgan could turn things around, who's there to see it? No one is willing to spend that amount of money because I don't remember how much it is, but from what I hear online, on wrestling forums and dirt sheets and things like that, you have to pay more a month to get TNA. So who's going to spend more money for TNA when we've already been burned so many times in the past? No one's going to waste money on this company anymore. And I feel like ultimately that's what's going to happen. Like, Billy Corgan could come in there and do some great stuff, but it's not going to change anything. I mean, no one's going to be able to see it. No one watches it. And there's there are better alternatives out there. Just from the buzz I read online, if I was a wrestling fan and I went to websites and stuff like that just to see what people are talking about the most and the product they're really enjoying, I would check out Lucha Underground. That's what I'd watch, because that's the product that everybody seems to love right now. There are a lot of great companies. You have PWG, which I think their only problem is like their DVD releases come out so late that it's easy to get behind with the product. But yeah, you have PWG, Ring of Honor, Lucha Underground. All the stuff that's happening in Japan is huge right now. I mean, there are plenty of alternatives if you're a wrestling fan. You don't have to hunt out TNA wrestling. And I think that's going to be their downfall. There's just better competition, and they're losing all their guys. And this Jeff Jarrett promotion, I can't remember the name of it, but that could have potential as well. And I think they're trying to get television. I mean, it's not a good sign for TNA. I think it's time they call it quits, but who knows what the future holds for them. Actually, I think we all know what the future holds for them. So Dean Ambrose comes out and he talks to Roman Reigns about something. Then it's Dean Ambrose versus Sheamus. Ambrose beats him. Not really much to say about this, except I really like this new Sheamus. I think he's got a cool look to him, and that music, the whole package just says like warrior, like the Celtic warrior thing. It's perfect. This is awesome. Really like this Sheamus. Andy's a heel. I mean, this is great. The guy's just brutal. So then we have some talking stuff, and it's supposed to be Ryback versus Seth Rollins. Ryback gets jumped by Bray Wyatt. Not really sure who's going to come out of that feud looking good. I mean, Ryback seems like he's definitely improved, but like, I'm not sure what's going to happen here. I feel like this is just another thing that's going to mean nothing. It's just pointless. Like, Bray will win some matches, Ryback will win some matches. Nothing really changes here. But yeah, Bray attacks Ryback. He still has to wrestle Seth Rollins, and Rollins beats him with a kick to the face. So I've read the stuff about them banning the curb stomp because some wrestlers were suing WWE over concussions or something. So they wanted to wait until the lawsuit was over and then maybe bring the move back or something like that. But as of right now, it looks like Seth Rollins doesn't even have a finishing move. So it's Tyson Kidd versus Kofi Kingston of the New Day. I'm not really sure who he fought. I didn't pay attention to this at all, honestly. I went back just to see what the finish was. Tyson Kidd beats him with a sharpshooter. I'm just not interested in any of these guys. None of them. I don't care what someone says. I will never be interested in this. Then Daniel Bryan, it showed like a little montage of him retiring or giving up the Intercontinental Championship, whatever that was. Yeah, that just sucks all around. I mean, it sucks for Daniel Bryan, it sucks for the fans, it sucks for the company because I'm sure he was selling a lot of merchandise. It's just bad all around, but you know, things happen. And Daniel Bryan, unlike guys like Roman Reigns who just come in and they go straight to WWE, he paid his dues. He grinded on the indies. That's why fans love him so much. He worked hard. He really did for years and years, and that takes a toll on your body. So these things happen, but then we get Bo Dallas versus Neville. Bo Dallas cut an awesome promo at the beginning talking about Daniel Bryan and the 5 stages of grief. This was just amazing stuff here. I'm so glad that Bo Dallas is back. He's actually one of the only reasons I would like to watch this show, but he's clearly losing again. I mean, I don't know what's going on here. Not really a big fan of the goatee either. It looks kind of strange, but I guess he is a heel, so maybe it works. But anyways, he fights Neville. Neville beats him, of course. And then Wade Barrett, who won the King of the Ring, is wearing like the robe and the crown. He's got a scepter. And I guess he's trying to start a feud with Neville here or something, but he just looked great. Barrett is awesome. And finally, we see Adam Rose backstage with Rosa Mendez and his little group, the Rosebuds, like the hot dog, says, "Are we ever going to get paid like for this?" And Adam Rose gets mad at him. He says, "You're just like the bunny." But here's what I'm thinking. They're supposed to get paid? Like, is it that difficult for Adam Rose to go to random people and say, "Hey, you want to be on national television? All you got to do is wear this outfit and dance around"? I mean, is he that much of a loser? Is that what we're supposed to believe here? That he's that much of a loser he has to pay people to follow him around? Like, he can't just get people to do it to be on television? So, the main event of this show is Roman Reigns versus Kane. And I'm still not really big on Roman Reigns. Maybe this guy will get over, but for me personally, just he doesn't really do anything for me. I don't think he's very exciting, and the whole thing just feels really forced, like too forced for my taste. I don't want to be told what to like, and that is everything Roman Reigns embodies. Every single thing he does, every victory he gets, is them telling me I should like this guy. And that turns me off. I mean, I can't help it. Maybe it's just my nature or something, but that makes me not like him. So I don't really care that much about Roman Reigns. As far as Kane goes, I like Kane as a human being. He seems like a great guy in real life. And he had one of the greatest gimmicks of all time, honestly. I'll never forget when Kane debuted at that Hell in a Cell and he attacked The Undertaker and he was wearing the mask and the red and black. I mean, that was awesome. That was amazing stuff. That was a great character. But, you know, over the years, they've just kind of, they've killed it off. I mean, there's only so much you can do with it. There is absolutely no way Kane could ever be a believable monster heel again. It's impossible at this point in his career. But I still have a special place in my heart for old school Kane back in the day. I remember I had a subscription to Nintendo Power, and in the back they had a preview of WWF Warzone, and they showed a picture of Kane in the game, and I freaked out. That was too much for me to handle back then. And I think it was like Kane the Headbanger, some people like that, but it was Kane that stood out. So, have to love old school Kane, but this Kane, I mean, it's not like comic books where the characters don't age. This guy has aged noticeably, and it doesn't work anymore. It's so boring. But I can't just fault Kane for that. I mean, this whole show is boring. All of this stuff. And I just, okay, so the finish of the match. Kane hits Roman Reigns with a kendo stick. The more things change. But, what happened? What happens next? Okay, so they set up some tables. Oh, Kane chokeslams Roman Reigns through a table in the ring. Chokeslams him. Hits his finisher. Not only his finisher, but his finisher through a table. And Roman Reigns kicks out. Of course he does. So then Kane is frustrated. And he does the thumb across the throat. And it kind of reminded me of the old Nintendo 64 games where you hit your special, and then once you hit it, it's done. Like, you can't hit it again. So you have to, like, taunt the crowd and build up that special meter again. So he goes for another one, and Reigns spears him or something through a table and beats him. He doesn't even hook the leg when he beats him. He just hits his finisher once, and then that's it. So that was annoying. And then I stopped the show here. Backstage, something is going on. Dean Ambrose offered Seth Rollins some cookies or something. And then Seth Rollins and his goons beat up Ambrose. And then Roman Reigns runs in to save him. I think that's all that happens here. It looks like that's about it. Yeah, so that was pretty much it. But yeah, just a pretty boring show. I mean, I wasn't expecting much from SmackDown. So I didn't really have a lot of expectations going into this. But yeah, this definitely didn't show me anything new. Alright guys, so to wrap this up, I feel like maybe I misspoke earlier when I said I'm done with wrestling, because there is a show coming up I am kind of excited about, and that would be the CCW Tournament of Death. Now you can say whatever you want about me for liking that, but you gotta admit, those guys are at least more like the Outlaws of the old days of pro wrestling than the guys on WWE. So maybe I've had enough with WWE. I don't even know how to watch TNA anymore. I hear about Lucha Underground and stuff like that, and I hear it's amazing. I'm sure it's great. I don't know if I get that channel, but even if I did, I'm really not going to go out of my way to watch it. But the Tournament of Death guys, you just have some crazy, and you want to talk about guys who may not be all right, it's those guys. There's some mystery in that, like why anyone would do it. But I am excited for Tournament of Death, but I'm more excited for IWA Mid-South King of the Death match. Now that is the pinnacle of deathmatch wrestling. Like, I've always thought, okay, Tournament of Death was superior, but the more I think about it, like the more I've been reminiscing and having just nostalgia trips, watching old videos on YouTube of King of the Death matches, I just remember like the Necro Butcher versus Toby Klein, the crazy guys who would show up for one tournament and then you would never hear from them again, like that Cowboy from Hell guy. Just so much stuff with IWA that was just awesome. They had really innovative matches, and the fans bring the weapons matches were always really creative. So I'm really looking forward to that now that I feel the company is back on a good pace again, releasing shows. For years it was like, okay, we're going to have King of the Death match this year, and then it would never happen. Or this show was going to take place and then never happen. Or these guys were scheduled to appear and they would never show up, like no one would show up. It was just like problem after problem. We all know the problems with Ian Rotten. But now it feels like they're actually on a good pace, and I'm excited for that because I would love to watch another just 2-night event of King of the Death matches with some just workers who are willing to go out there and go nuts. Just all those old guys, JC Bailey, Pondo, Brain Damage, all those guys who would just kill each other, man. It was great. That was good stuff. So I am excited about those shows. But as far as videos going forward, I'm hoping I can do some more videos for you guys. I have seen a lot of good movies this year. I did see Avengers 2. The Ex Machina movie. That was amazing. I saw that a couple days ago. I really love that one. It Follows. That is great. If you have not seen It Follows, definitely check that one out. That is just so original. It's so simple, but just, I mean, me and my friend talked for hours after watching that movie about like what it could have been. Well, what if you did this? Well, what if you did that? Like, it was so good. It really inspires discussion. So I really loved It Follows, and maybe I can do like a more in-depth review of those in the future or something like that. But I don't want to make any promises, so we'll just have to see what happens. But I know it's been a long time since I've done a video, so I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I'm sure I'm rusty, and it may have been boring, or I just rambled for far too long in the beginning, but I hope you guys enjoyed it nonetheless, and leave your thoughts in the comments. And thanks for watching. Bye.